Have you ever imagined a game so grand but so grand that even 7 years after its release, new mysteries are still being uncovered? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Red Dead Redemption 2. 2026 started with a new intriguing puzzle involving various spiderwebs spread across the map and mysterious symbols engraved in hidden locations, leading the player to an unlikely and forgotten by many mystery grand and meticulously crafted, which remained hidden for over half a decade before finally being unveiled by the community. But after all, what do these spiderwebs mean, and the feathers, do they serve any purpose? Where exactly do these clues want to take us? And the cave giant, is he connected to all of this? Get ready, because in this video you will discover the answer to all these questions, a complete and very well organized dossier that will show you step by step everything you need to know about the biggest mystery ever uncovered in Red Dead 2. First of all, it's important to give credit to the people who discovered this mystery, whose names are appearing on the screen. Without them, none of this would be possible. To start the mystery, we'll have to go to this point on the map near the Cornwall factory and the town of Valentine between 4 and 5 in the morning. This location will be the starting point for the odyssey that is driving the community crazy, so get ready to freak out. Upon arriving at the location, we will find a telegraph pole that runs alongside the train tracks. If you're there at the right time, you'll notice a spider drawing engraved on the pole. But that's not all. Just above, at the top of the pole, we can find a spider web. Next to the web, there are 2 feathers stuck to the arachnid structure. We can interact with a strange object by shooting at it. Interestingly, only the feathers react to the projectiles, as the web remains intact. Going back to the spider drawing, what seemed irrelevant turns out to be the most important factor in the whole investigation. When we take this drawing and overlay it on the game map, we realize that the spider has 8 legs, and each one reveals the location of a new post, which when visited at the right time reveals more spider webs with feathers hanging. These webs spread throughout the states of New Hanover and Lemoyne, appearing at different times of the early morning in the game. I will show you all these locations along with the specific time each web appears. I ask that you pay attention to the color of the feathers on each web, as this is one of the most important parts of the whole video. As we can see, there are 8 spiderwebs scattered throughout the map which only appear under very specific conditions. This explains why this mystery has remained hidden for over half a decade. By exploring the game files, the community found these webs. They are named as Spider Dream, which roughly translates to the spider's dream. The reason for this is obvious. They closely resemble dream catchers in the game, one of the many collectibles to achieve 100% completion in Red Dead 2. Another curiosity arose when looking at Red Dead 2's contemporary brother, GTA 5. The community remembered that these same webs also exist in San Andreas. Just like in the Western, the webs in the game appear on specific windows of time during the early morning. Could this mystery be interconnected between the two universes? Well, I don't know, but Madame Nazar certainly has something very interesting to say about it. Leaving Los Santos and heading back to Lemoyne, after a few days of discovering the 8 webs, we had a groundbreaking discovery in the community, a 9th spiderweb. But unlike the first 8, this one is not on the spider's legs, but in its center, at this location on the map near the Scarlet Meadows stable south of Emerald Ranch. When visiting the location between 1 and 2 in the morning in the game, we will find a gigantic spiderweb. Unlike the previous 8, it is not on a telegraph pole, but between 2 trees in nature. Upon closer inspection of the large web, we will notice 2 interesting things. The first is the absence of an element that was predominant in the previous webs, the feathers. The second is the highlight of 2 elements within the web, an N and right next to it, something that appears to be a backward 7. After a heated debate on Reddit, the community reached a consensus on the meaning of these elements. The N would signify north, with Rockstar pointing the player in this direction. Meanwhile, the 7, when looked at closely, reveals itself as the representation of a telegraph pole, the same model that serves as home to the first 8 webs. With each passing second, this mystery expands. With each new discovery by the community, another step is taken towards the great solution behind this monumental enigma. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will take a gigantic step towards the truth, so get ready. Following the line towards the north, we will, believe it or not, reach another telegraph pole, which basically confirmed that Rockstar was communicating with us through the grand web in the spider's center. The community spent days testing different late-night times in search of the infamous webs, but none of them revealed the arachnid work. It was only when someone decided to draw their revolver and shoot the pole that a new clue was discovered: new engravings. This time, a W on top of 5 drawings that look like crosses but actually represent telegraph poles. As you can probably imagine, the W means we should head west. In other words, we've uncovered the direction we need to follow. But what about the 5 posts? What do they mean? The answer was discovered by following the direction pointed out by the engraving. The west follows the train tracks, which run parallel to the telegraph poles. Eventually, the community connected the dots and formulated a theory. The number of engravings represents the number of posts the player needs to travel to progress in the investigation, and this hypothesis couldn't be more correct. By passing 5 posts towards the west, we will find a new engraving when aiming at the telegraph pole. At the top of the new drawing are the letters NW. Following the pattern of the mystery, these letters represent a direction northwest. Below we have an element unprecedented in this whole investigation, a drawing of a type never seen before. It is quite peculiar and catches the eye, but it only takes a few seconds to recognize a familiar figure: a guitar. Why on earth would a musical instrument be engraved on a pole? That's what we'll try to find out as we follow the location that the pole points us to northwest. But before we do that, make sure you've already liked this video and subscribed to the channel, okay? With a straight line to the northwest drawn, we will be directed to one of the most interesting structures in the entire map, Fort Wallace, a highly protected military base in Cumberland Forest. Normally, the fort is practically inaccessible to the player without the use of mods. The exception lies in Chapter 6, between the missions, the King's Son, and our best selves. During this time lapse, we can use the hole in the fort that Arthur and Charles used to rescue eagle flies from the military. Once inside the fort, we can start our investigation to understand why Rockstar would direct us to this location. In a few minutes of inspection, it is possible to find one of the elements present in the engravings, the guitar. It is on a table in the open area of the fort in the center of the courtyard. Unfortunately, it is not possible to interact with the musical instrument, either by inspecting it or trying to pick it up. As this mystery is strongly based on directions, the community ask themselves a question: is the guitar pointing somewhere? Looking at the guitar neck, we notice that it is pointing west. Following this direction, we do not find anything relevant other than a letter from the Notorious Gunslinger set, featuring Emmett Granger. It is highly unlikely that the cowardly and pathetic gunslinger has any involvement with this theory, but he is not the only instrument in the fort. Continuing the investigation, we found a second guitar in one of the watchtowers. Unlike the guitar on the table, this one is leaning against the wall. It's not exactly pointing in a direction as its neck is tilted upwards. But you know what's interesting? The fact that you can actually follow a bit of this direction by exiting through the tower window and climbing a small set of stairs to the top. From there, we have a beautiful view of the valley and the Dakota River. This is where things start to get tricky because with this second guitar, the community became stagnant. It was only after a long time that someone connected the dots. By pointing the guitar's arm upwards, Rockstar was telling us to look up, and that's exactly what we'll do with the help of the free camera. I know this may seem a bit forced, but as we trace a line around the fort and connect the dots, we can notice that it has a shape similar to that of a guitar. Do you remember the guitar on the table? Well, it's right in the center of this quote guitar, just like in the drawing of that telegraph pole. Well, what does this fort drawing mean? As of the date of this script's production on January 15, 2026, no one has found the answer to this similarity. But something that was found is a clue at the watchtower. By analyzing the structure very carefully, we found two engravings of birds on some of the tiles. This added another question mark to this whole mystery, and as this big search has always been based on directions, the community started questioning where this engraving would be pointing to. And after some investigations, it was concluded that it points to this point on the map near YPD Reserve. This location is the starting point of the Cave Giant mystery. In short, it consists of visiting the map point after meeting a prerequisite. So these birds appear at the edge of the lake, and we follow them to the Cave of the Giant a few kilometers away. The bird drawing on the roof is a clear reference to the Cave Giant, but is the giant man whose physical appearance was removed from the game somehow involved in this great mystery? Well, I think so. The giant has always been known to have a paranormal ability to communicate with creatures. Proof of this is that we can only interact with him after studying a minimum of 30 species of animals. And would he be in contact with the spider that made the webs on the telegraph poles? Well, only time will tell. In addition to the discovery of the connection between the spider webs and the giant birds, Strangeman's channel made another revelation on January 7th. He noticed that when looking at the horizon in the same spot where the birds appear, we find this element engraved on a mountain, a question mark. Another small piece in this big investigation, with Rockstar teasing players even more. I tried to visit the location using mods, but as expected, nothing happened. Since this discovery on the 7th, we have been without new clues or elements to follow in the mystery of the spiderwebs. All that remains are theories involving even Dottie's bluff cabin, for example. But that doesn't mean the work is over. The Red Dead 2 subreddit has never been more active. Thousands of people have their games open searching for new clues, and during these investigations many interesting theories have started to emerge. And now I'm going to talk about the best one of all. Do you remember the feathers on the first 8 telegraph poles? I told you to pay close attention to them, remember? Now I'm going to explain why. Of the 8 feathers, 5 are black and 3 are red, and according to the theory created by the Strangeman channel, they are related to an important character in the story, eagle flies. As we can see in this image put together by the editor, each feather corresponds to a mission in the story where the boy appears. In Eastward Bound, he appears at the top of a cliff with his father, in the Gilded Cage during the mayor's party in Saint Denis. 2 feathers correspond to the mission American Fathers, with the first cutscene in Saint Denis and the second at the Cornwall factory. Finally, the mission Raging Fury, when we recover the tribe's horses on an army boat. Now we have the 3 red feathers, and as we can imagine, red refers to blood and death, referencing the following missions: Favorite Sons, when Flying Eagle is kidnapped, and Son of the King, when he is imprisoned and rescued by Arthur and Charles, and finally My Last Son, when the boy dies during the indigenous attack on Cornwall's factory. As we can see, each feather symbolizes the appearance of the boy in the game's plot. And what does this mean? Well, it's still too early to make any assumptions, but theories keep popping up in the community. Every hour a new theory arises, and it's just a matter of time until we get a new clue or even the great solution to this grand mystery. Of course, I will always be updating you on absolutely everything that is happening, so make sure to be subscribed here on the channel. Well, while you wait for the next chapter of this odyssey, take the time to discover all the possibilities of the 4 possible endings of Red Dead Redemption 2. Click here on the yellow arrow and find out what influences each outcome. How do your decisions affect it? Discover all the possibilities and the paths that lead to each of the most impactful endings of the game. So a big hug to everyone and see you later. Bye!